ran for Congress in the 5th District against Standing Order and did a great job. Not only that, but as an Army officer, guy's a Marine officer, so even though we kid each other back and forth, we're still part of the same family. So thank you for your service to our country. And without further ado, I want to turn over to Charles Lollar. That's in the ceiling. Yeah. Well, that's good. They can't let them come. They can do it.
Don't worry, I'm sure my voice is there. If not, I like to walk around when I talk anyway. One way or the other, I'll make sure you hear my voice. That's the benefit of being a Marine, not an Army officer. The voice just kind of carries a little bit better, a little bit forward. That's why they pushed us so further up front in the first place. Since I didn't take the first round of weaponry. You know, one of the things that Tony did say that I called earlier is that we have to continue to do a better job than our Democrat counterparts to kind of outlay what our plan is and what we hope to do. And he said that 15 points behind, we tend to start because we're conservatives. A lot of that, as you all know, is true. I just finished leaving a meeting today, brings me to this point. Businessman in Laurel, Maryland, in the Prince George's County side of Laurel. Businessman, African-American gentleman, sitting across from me, and I came in. When I sat down, the first words out of his mouth was, listen, you are a Republican. I don't exactly know what you're selling, but whatever you do, you can't win in Maryland. But I'll listen to you for 5 minutes. I've got a meeting in 5 minutes, so please hurry up. Outstanding way to start a conversation. 40 minutes later, he joined the draft room. If I decide to run for governor, he wants to help us run. So we're making a lot of headway by having these types of conversations about fiscal responsibility, why we need a better business base in our state, and why we're not necessarily interested in kicking everybody off of government. That's not the concept behind conservatism. We believe in a fiscal, frugal, and efficient government. We believe in a strong, healthy military, but we also believe in a strong private side in the form of private business so we can afford what we do on the public level. Like I told a group in Prince George's County at a committee meeting once in a room full of Democrats, I said, without the private side of business, you have no one to pay the bills for the public side of business that we do every day. So every person in here that is attached to a government job or a contractor job, we need small business in this state if we expect to maintain any type of efficiency of government. And they're really seeing that with obvious illustrations and examples. And I'll get right to the point and give you some of the same points I gave them. On a $35 billion budget, $9.23 billion of it comes in the form of stimulus and grant money from the federal government. And with sequestration right around the corner, it's going to cut 10% across the board of that $9.2 billion that comes into our state. What does that mean? It means that fiscally, we run a deficit every year without federal money. When you couple that with the fact that we have one of the highest percentages of contractor jobs in defense, to include those who retire in the military here in Maryland, it doesn't make for a very good outcome for our state. We have managed over the past 9 years to run off 33% of our manufacturing jobs. They left Maryland. They took their jobs with them. And now with the $1,000 tax, it threatens to take the middle class we have here in Maryland and shoot them across the Wilson Bridge into Virginia as well. I tell a funny story to people that I like, and I like you all, so I'll tell you all the same funny story. I had a conversation with Governor Jim Gilmore, who's the past governor of Virginia. He was governor of Virginia when they turned from majority Democrat to majority Republican for the first time since Reconstruction. And I said, Governor, I need your help. If we decide to run for this post and serve the state of Maryland, we need advice from governors like you. I want you to join my advisory council. He said, well, tongue-in-cheek, he said, well, Mr. Governor, I'll tell you what, I'll join your advisory committee on one condition. I said, well, what is that? He said, I need you to promise me that you'll help me in my endeavor to double the size of the Woodrow Wilson Bridge. Now, I'm waiting for the punchline because we just doubled the size of the Woodrow Wilson Bridge. Eugene, you can't make this stuff up. So I looked at the governor. I said, sir, we just doubled the size of it. He said, yeah, but you didn't take into account the mass exodus of Marylanders that are going to leave once they realize this thousandaires tax is going to impact them too. A little fun at my expense, and I appreciated that, but it's a very sincere and genuine concern. But our biggest problem and our biggest opportunity, I like using that word better, is finding a way to take people who normally don't vote like us or vote for us and show them why they should. And we do a terrible job marketing the benefits of the conservative movement that many of them already are and are a part of. A lot of times we lead with insults. It does us more harm than good. What we've been doing through New Day Maryland, a political action committee that's nonpartisan that I chair, is we've been making our way around the state to present certain opportunities in the form of a red print for Maryland. This is what Maryland could look like if we just simply take a look at three simple issues: our current tax base, the energy base, and the regulations in our state. And introduce something that we call zero-based accountability, which basically says to every state department, we're going to go from zero-based budgeting. We're not going to ask you to come together with a wish list of what you want for next year and then find the taxes to support it. No one does that. At least no one with a successful family does that. No, what we're going to do is zero-based budget and say, what did we work with last year? Every expense you have for this year, keep it under last year's budget, and then justify to me or to any governor of this state why we need to spend more than that for any particular reason. And if you're going to spend more, you got to go line by line in my office and say that's what we done. Those types of things, in my opinion, absolutely make sense to follow. It's what we do in the last 7 days. Why is it wrong? You don't have to shut the gates in 1 6 that you pay their bill while they're in the But again, I see after all, it's your money to demand better. Earlier this year, so my biggest concern, my voice must be working. My biggest concern for our party for this movement is I can see the light. I had the pleasure of working in Georgia about 10 years ago, when for the first time since Reconstruction, we flipped from majority Democrat to majority Republican with the Republican governor and Sonny Perdue. I've seen it happen before. It can happen here in Maryland. But you know what my biggest concern is? Will we eat our own? That is my biggest concern. I have noticed just in the short time that Karen and her team have put together this draft, myself and my wife to run for governor, there's so much contention. And I don't understand where it comes from. It's almost as if people want to see a problem or create one before it ever comes to light and show us as an opportunity. And what's scary for me is that we get this close to making it happen and we aren't even together in our own circles. How do we change that? I'm working on that. I've even managed, now as a draft concept, I will tell you that I can't play a role in their draft as much as I want to, but I'm a Marine officer. I'm mobilized at the Pentagon. I can't campaign. Thus, this is not a campaign state, and I won't be asking for a penny. So rest at ease.
Charles, we really did want to go to the campaign. We just need your energy.
Exactly.
What can we do? What's going on?
Yes. Her question is, we're not here to campaign, you're exactly right. So what can we do? We really have to reach out to people that we might not think will vote like us and have that conversation. We need to stimulate. We're going to have to to go out of our way. Now, I know that you all will probably sit here as a Ronald Reagan club and try to confess that you don't have any Democrats as friends, and you're not honest. All of us have at least one, especially here in the state of Maryland. You have at least one. You got to reach out to them. You got to have the conversation.
Baby steps.
She says, Candace said she's got her mom. That's the way we have to do it. And no matter what comes, I made this decree myself. We have to agree, in some cases to disagree, and we have to get along. We have to get along. We have to find a way to work together and get along. I refuse in any way, shape, or form to get caught up into anything that's divisive. I'm just not going to do it. Because in my opinion, it wastes time. Not just time, but resources. I look at my daughter's faces every day, and my girls are so content on leaving the state. They would have left yesterday if I let them. But I told them there's hope here in Maryland. We can pull together and make this happen. But it's going to take the sacrifices that we all do at everyday levels to include what you all are doing here. So the best way I can answer such a fantastic question as that is, you've got to find a way to work together. We have the solutions. We have the answers. We have some really good people. Really good people. And I love them all. I'm a big fan of all of them, whether they run for governor, no matter what they run for. I'm a fan of them all. I hope you recorded that. Like, sing that out. I'm a fan of them all. Get behind your candidate. But when you reach across the aisle, find more reasons to connect with people, and don't lead with insults. Insults don't work. If I walk up to you and I make fun of the person you voted for and then try to convince you why you should have voted for him, you've already turned me off. That's the reality. Instead, you lead with, we're having some difficult times. Financially, we're behind. We run a $1.2 billion deficit. If I can manage to change the hearts of a regional director who works for Casa de Maryland to join our side and help support her draft, I'm telling you, we can change people's minds if we have the right conversation. But we have to stop finding reasons to tear each other down. If we do that, we're going to find success. Are there any other questions I can answer? I don't want to bore you. Yes, sir.
I think what you're saying, but we can't change our values to try to get this down. To accept those, it's so difficult because they're used to the handouts, they're used to the free stuff. They just don't understand it. How can we change it?
His comment was, it's so stupid, sir. His comment was, it's so difficult to change people's minds on the other side of the aisle if they don't share our values, if all they're used to are handouts. Here's my response to that, because that's an excellent point. But here's my response to that. My wife and I have been in Prince George's County and Baltimore City for the past 16, 18 months. That is the minority of people that are looking for handouts. Prince George's County is very interesting. In that county, you'll find the wealthiest African Americans per capita than anywhere else in the country. They're not looking for handouts. They're looking for the same things you and I are looking for. Here's the problem. We're not talking to them. We're talking about each other, but we're not talking to them. And it's so frustrating to see it. Email after email, conversation after conversation that I've had over the past 3 months has been about inward attacks and candidates in the party. Who's working outside the party? It's so frustrating. What I'm finding out is these hard-working Prince Georgians, they're sick and tired of them out. They called us in a room at their boardroom, and they're forming a group called Patriots for Lollar, because they want to provide 40% of the vote for a Republican candidate if we make it to the primary. So instead of talking about each other, get out and go talk to them.
That's right.
They'll let you come to their clubs. Handshake, conversate, and here's what you'll find out. Here in the state of Maryland, we have more people that agree with our values than disagree.
Amen.
I look at Tony every day. He doesn't look like a wealthy white Republican to me. Maybe wealthy, maybe Republican, but you're not white. Eugene, you sit in the same place. And my point is simple. People want to throw their arms around our values if we're willing to engage in the conversation. But I'll tell you one thing. Regardless of what my wife and I decide to do or not do, we will continue to take the values of this party into those communities because we are convinced that we can see change here in this state. Yes, sir. Her question, for you all didn't hear is, when it comes to Jewish Americans, which she's a Jewish conservative Republican American, and many others like her in other various communities, they're so used to voting the same way year after year for the Democrat. How do you change that? And my answer to her is we currently have the gift that keeps on giving in the form of our current governor running for president. He has been such a blessing to our cause. When I went down and spoke at the Second Amendment rally in Annapolis, there were almost 5,000 people down there. One person walked up to me after it was over and said, there can't be this many Republicans in the state of Maryland. I looked back at him and I said, you're right, but they're not all Republicans. Yes. Because the Second Amendment it impacts Democrats as well. For the first time, we have a wedge of opportunity where people are actually listening. Since 2010, one of the strongest elections Maryland's seen, we saw more, for the first time in our history, more Republican local officials elected than Democrat, and that includes the count of Prince George's County and Baltimore City. We have a majority when it comes to commissioners and city councilmen that are conservative in this state. 2014 is huge for us if we can find a way to stop fighting from within. Oh, I'm not old. Don't touch me. That's a straight up. Don't touch me. Her question is, speaking of fighting from within, who do I think the next party chair should be? My answer to that is real simple. I can't tell you who it should be, but I can tell you the kind of qualifications they need to have. They need to be good fundraisers. They need to be business persons. And they need to understand that these political action committees that are starting to rise up, like my own New Day, Maryland, they're doing so because there's very little confidence currently in the Republican Party at the state level. So that they've got a big carpet to vacuum. A lot of work, and they're going to have to find a way to pull people together. I'm not sure all the people are looking at money, but I tell you what, it's a thankless job with no pay and very little pats on the back. But a lot of people willing to throw spitballs at you. I wouldn't want the job.
We're going to change that. We're going to try to get some kind of vision.
That's awesome.
If we can get some kind of decent person.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I can take one last. Yes, sir.
You said you were involved with Virginia and Georgia flipping. What happened?
That's a great question. They flipped because of divisive issues we're walking into right now. In Georgia, it was a state flag that caused it to happen. And it was tremendous what happened. Some of you all remember the state flag in Georgia used to be the rebel battle flag. And it changed because a conservative senator from southern Georgia ran on changing that flag so that Georgia could start fresh and new, and it upset so many old line party Democrats courts, and he won the election in a landslide. For us, it's several things working for us. In Prince George's County, Baltimore City, the marriage bill is a gift that keeps on giving.
That's right.
And now there's a Second Amendment in the encroachment against our right to bear and keep arms. So that wedge is opening more and more and more. All we need is the right candidate with no infighting, a solid party with a structured vision, and we're going to take that house. And I'm telling you, the Senate will come afterwards. The Democrats, thank you, brother. The Democrats over in Prince George's County initially called me into the room because they wanted to pay me and move us to run against Senator Mike Lollar. These were black Democrats that were sick and tired of Senator Lollar. And these were wealthy, well-to-do elected officials in Prince George's County. And my first excuse was, I'm not looking to run for Senate, plus I don't even live in the district. They said, you let us know your list of the names, we'll take care of them, we'll move it. That's how serious they are. And every single person around that boardroom was African American. And they knew I was Republican. I'm telling you, the opportunity for what we're doing, it's right there. And we can do it. Virginia was the same type of an issue. All you need is a divisive issue to get people scratching their heads. That room full of Democrats, one thing they did tell me is, we believe in a two-party system because they're taking our votes for granted. And I couldn't resist. I led with this, where you do know that the current situation we're in, fiscal and otherwise, you can't blame my party. You all have been in control since prior to the Civil War. And they said, we know that. That's why we want change. I'm going to close with her question because it's spot on. We have to do a better job reaching out. My commitment to you is whether you like me or not. And I understand if you don't, my daughters don't even like me after that. But I am committed to working for you, to changing the soul here in this state, because I believe in Maryland. Maryland is an absolute beautiful state. We have all the potential in the world. And come hell or high water, we're going to make this thing happen, make this change happen, and we're going to have the executive leadership experience to do so. So I challenge you, stay in contact with me, stay in contact with anyone that comes before this wonderful board to discuss the opportunities of doing things in Maryland. And at the end of the day, let's learn to agree to disagree if we have to. But I tell you what, there's not a week or a month that goes by that I don't get a chance to reach out and talk to every single one of the candidates that are running for governor except for Blaine Young. And I just can't catch up to them. You know why? Because I want to make sure that we all work together. If we don't, we're going to lose a huge opportunity. Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate that.